Welcome to the 19th session, where we are trying to meet the new goal of education of creating a well-being curriculum using 5,000-year-old ideas of ancient wisdom from a knowledge system that belonged to the world but is now known as the Indian knowledge system. To achieve well-being, the new goal of education, Indian knowledge system texts transform subtle attitudes, subtle values and subtle competencies. How do you think virtue, morals, honesty, ethics can be incorporated in behavior? We take a break of 5 minutes for you to write your views and recommendations. The texts of Indian knowledge system sustain society by expanding the human hearts to include others' pain as their own. They need a separate course to explain. These texts are so many. For quick grasp, we simplify these IKS Indian knowledge system texts, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Atmavidya texts into the level of truth they can be used to reveal. Of course, all texts can reveal the full truth. But what does each text represent and what path of progress it can help us actualize is shown in the diagram here. Of course, all texts, as we say, contain the way to one goal and they reveal it in a unique way. This needs maybe one course or many courses to explain all these issues in depth, but we have summarized it here in one table so that you get an overview. You are free to pause and study the table at leisure. The Indian knowledge system relies on Shruti, the revealed word. It also relies on the voice of conscience, which is the revealed word within us. This is preserved through Smriti, that is memorizing. Then comes the written word. Hence, the Vedas, for example, were memorized front to back and back to front to ensure purity of comprehension, that this purity is not corrupted by pronunciation. The Puranas imply the ancient and represent the poetry of creation and the creator. They represent 10 things, ashray, that is, they offer support to creation just as the creator, the I, is the prop of creation. They offer help, for without help, liberation cannot be achieved. They also represent point number 2, that is sarga, the process of creation. Point number 3, visarga, proliferation of creation into manifold varieties. 4, sthana, the fixation of limits to everything and processes that honor these limits. 5th, poshana, fostering, guarding and preservation from harm. 6th, uthi, the consequences of activities and their impact on one's nature and career. 7, manavantra, the chronology of humans and their lineage. 8, Isanu Charita, the glories of Isa, the Lord, the Creator or Lord depicted as an I in our series here. 9th, Nirodha, the absorption of creation by the I or Creator back into itself. And 10, the Puranas represent mukti or liberation from ignorance. Their message can be summed up in 4 simple words: help ever, hurt never. Now let's come to the Vedas. The Rigveda is the first among Vedas. It expresses awe of creation. Humility with which we look at creation, awe of creation, and it represents the first human expression, that is vak or speech. It teaches cooperation and unity. It guides that all should pursue the same holy desires. The Yajurveda and the Samaveda can come in any order. The Yajurveda represents the mind. It teaches worship, charity and sacrifice. The Krishna Yajurveda is near the Rigveda. The Samaveda represents prana. The Gayatri Mantra, if recited, represents all the three Vedas and can thus offer everything: health, desire fulfillment, cure from ailments, etc. The Atharvan Veda comes last. It represents intellect, which requires discrimination for education to be complete. The Vedas help us experience the flow of prana through the control over the mind. This comes when we use humble, sweet words steeped in awe of creation or creator as seen in nature. Its actions are expressed through deeds of cooperation. Their absorption transforms human nature. This flow of prana, life force, breath, is directed by the intellect to unlock the human heart, to release selfless love hidden within the heart. This leads to expansion of the human heart, not physically, but expansion in spirit. The expansion of the human heart brings it near the source, the I, the creator. The human is now ready to experience nearness to excellence, filled with goodness that creation that is surrounding all of us represents. When we realize that this excellence and goodness is above, below, in front and behind us, we are ready to experience it within ourselves too. This next step is taken by the Atma Vidya texts of Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras, etc., which reveal the truth of oneself. The habit of doing the right thing always, just because it is the right thing to do, leads to non-attachment to the fruit of actions, which is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. This attitude slowly reveals the non-dual nature of creation. Over time, living in these truths with the experience of the five elements and their merger as three gunas or qualities of sattva, rajas and tamas reveals the truth of creation. That this truth is one's own truth is revealed too. This then gives humans the experience that I am the creator of this truth. Sitting on the chair, viewing all creation with samyak drishti reveals the four Mahavakyas, just as there are the four Vedas. The first Mahavakya is Tat Tvam Asi, that which you think is the creator, that out there, that thou art. You yourself are that. Second, Prajnanam Brahma, which is constant, integrated awareness, is Brahman. And awareness of what? The oneness principle, that is Brahman. Third, I am Atma Brahman. Atma is Brahman. And fourth, Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahman, I am Brahman, verily. The Atma Vidya texts reveal Paravidya. These may be difficult to comprehend without prior preparation. All other texts, even though they have Paravidya hidden in them, are used for the process of transforming Aparavidya to Paravidya. The Vedas, for example, can be used for fulfilling the first three Purusharthas of Dharma and Arth, though the Atma Vidya texts are the best guide to the fourth Purushartha of Moksha, which is the only guide to the third Purushartha of Kama. The other texts restrain Kama to righteous conduct, but liberation is granted by linking Kama with Moksha, that is, linking desire with liberation for it as the first and only desire. Liberation for it and liberation as the first desire and the only desire. While the other texts can guide human conduct towards righteous conduct while living in Dwaitha and Vishishta Dwaitha, the best way for a Dwaitha or absolute balance is the Atma Vidya texts. The study of Puranas can prepare us to absorb and comprehend the Vedas. The study of Vedas and its practices can prepare us adequately to absorb the Upanishads, and the study of Upanishads along with practices of Indian knowledge systems prepares us for the final Atma Vidya, self-awareness. The path of Indian knowledge systems is one of practice using practices. What is the eye-opening view that Indian knowledge systems texts offer? What analysis reveals the mystery of the universe? How does this revelation help us experience the dynamic balance in creation and activate it in our daily life and work? Indian knowledge systems texts find that chasing the gross world is not giving permanent joy. Will finding the subtle help? How to decide hierarchy of gross and subtle? How to use it to seek permanent joy or bliss? With such idea, Indian knowledge systems inner science proceeded. IKS deduced the hierarchy of gross to subtle as follows. Earth is the grossest of elements, water is subtler. It permeates the earth. Fire is subtler and more pervasive than water. Behind the rain that we see as water, the fire of lightning is the cause. So, IKS deduced. It also deduced that air is subtler than fire because it pervades more. Ether, of course, is the subtlest and pervades everything. In this ascending order of subtlety, each element exhibits a wider pervasiveness than the preceding element. With increasing subtlety, pervasiveness also expands. In the reverse process, when subtlety diminishes, the density increases and the pervasiveness contracts. Thus, air is less subtle and grosser than ether. Fire is grosser and less pervasive than air. Earth is the grossest and least pervasive. The IKS texts Vedas also help us rise in the need hierarchy of Maslow. They do it step by step, very easily. They help transform body consciousness into a travel beyond space and time. The Rigveda starts with awe of creation. The Yajurveda makes the mind sacrifice selfishness. The Samveda gives the experience of the life force, that is, enabling all of creation. And the Atharvan Veda gives us the sense of discrimination, how to guide and use the life force to realize the self-awareness, the transcendence principle, the Four Mahavakyas. The step-by-step approach of the Vedas starts by sitting below the chair and looking up in awe of space-time play. There is a play of space and time going on around us, and we look up and filled with awe, we look at this space and time play. This humility is the beginning of a scientific approach. It lights the fire of desire to find the cause of space-time and its display. This fire of desire for the truth rarefies the moving air of thoughts, sacrificing their selfishness. This is Yajurveda. The transformation of human vision away from selfish ways leads to an experience of the underlying unity of atoms. Felt as an emotion, it is selfless love for all. This is the music in creation. We can experience it, or we can experience what is called in IKS Samaveda. It appreciates the tal, the inner discipline and the raga that creates balance in creation. The life breath of creation, pran, is thus experienced within us. The awe of creation of Rigveda fires the search for truth. It fires our search and rarefies the air of thoughts in the mind to remove selfish ones. As in the Yajurveda, this still crescent moon mind, the mind has now become still and is in a crescent moon stage. It experiences the song or life force of creation as Samved. Now the intellect, as the sun, illumines the nature of the truth, giving discrimination between right and wrong. And with this discrimination, the clouds are removed, the clouds of doubt are removed, and they reveal the real source from the unreal in creation. This occurs because of the Atharvan Veda. What is the fundamental question that humans need to ask? If we are using the symbol of the chair to simply understand rising in Maslow's hierarchy, how do we rise up and sit on the chair? Indian knowledge systems asks a fundamental question: are we a slave of our inner nature, or are we its ruler? If nature outside us is like a chair, why can't we sit on it as a ruler? The study of nature by humans sitting below the chair is to learn the discipline of nature and apply it in life to conquer our inner enemies. This reveals the path to sit on the chair and rule over our inner nature. Indian knowledge systems education of Vishishta Dvaita leads us to this oneness of Advaita. Of all truths, what is the most important truth? We know that animals believe that they are just the body and are guided by animal instinct. If the goal is to realize that humans are more than the body, then the study of nature is to learn from the discipline inherent in nature. That discipline which maintains dynamic balance as in a spinning top. This study is not an event but a process which leads to it. If so, what is that event or the goal of human endeavor? Can this goal be said in more than one way? The goal of IKS is to live in the experience that I am not just the body. Okay, if I am not just the body, then who am I? I am the source. This is said in the Four Mahavakyas of IKS. The last stage of life of many seers, Jesus also shows a lack of body conscious sense dependence. Whatever happens to the body, the pain, they do not feel it themselves, but they only demonstrate through their life that they are beyond the body. They are beyond the pain that can be inflicted on the body. Their life is a message for rising above a sense perception of being attached to the body as the only way of knowing oneself. What is the final truth of the source revealed? Just as there are four Vedas, there are four declarations of the same truth. Tat first is Tattvamasi, that thou art. Second is Prajnanam Brahman, constant integrated awareness is Brahman. Third, I am Atma Brahman, the Atma is Brahman. Fourth is Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, verily. How is the final goal or its realization achieved? Humans are not just the body, can be agreed by all. But then what is a human being? This should not just be an academic concept, but an experience. How will this experience help realize the goal of life? Let's look at the 3-in-1 analysis of a human being. Climbing Maslow's hierarchy or the chair of nature on which the source sits starts with a simple fact that humans are not one but three: the body, the mind, and the soul principle. The intellect is trained by education to rise above the I am just the body experience to a higher level of consciousness. So how to live in this 3-in-1 body mind complex? The IKS study of nature awakens consciousness of the truth that I am not just the body, and two, that secondly, that all nature's processes of creation, preservation and creative destruction are also ongoing within the human body. And finally, third thing is this: how to live in the body is by steadying the mind using two approaches, Dwaitha and Vishishta Dvaita. Of course, the three-in-one concept of humans in IKS has three philosophies, the third being Advaita, which is used to guide humans beyond the mind too. The journey of Advaita is a personal journey that the earlier two philosophies prepare a human being for. Let's look at Dwaitha philosophy first. The Dwaitha approach can be misinterpreted and is misinterpreted. Dwaitha seeks to enjoy the essence of creation. It is beyond sense perception by being separate from it. It can be interpreted as enjoying creation through sense perception. This causes mental health issues and social pain. The Dwaitha approach identifies the creator or the source, creation and its processes to be different from the human. Its purpose is so that the essence of multiplicity of creation can be enjoyed by human essence using the body and mind. Its manner of doing this leads to mental health and well-being. But Feuerbach identifies sense perception as human essence. This is the cause of mental and social problems. The path to the goal through Indian knowledge systems education is Vishishta Dvaita. It is in two parts. First is to train the body and mind to study and follow limits. Everything in creation follows limits. This leads to the second part, awareness of the source, which is consciousness of bliss. How to apply this knowledge as a path of progress? The three IKS paths to reach the source are karma, bhakti and jnana. The three paths of karma and bhakti and jnana appeal according to the inner inclination of the individual. The individual expressions within the paths are unique to each one. Hence, they appear to be different. Just as creation is infinite in its uniqueness, yet it has an underlying unity of atoms. Similarly, the three paths are powered by the same ideas, the same goals of life. The three paths merge into one another, just as the goals lead to the same experience of inner bliss. The science of living life is about realizing the nature of creation, and the art is of comprehending human nature. It learns to live and use nature, realizing the interdependencies that pervade nature. All human needs can be skillfully fulfilled by realizing and fulfilling our role as part of this interdependence which is going on in nature. If we are part of this, we can skillfully fulfill all our needs by realizing and enjoying the song of creation, the Samved, the beauty of creation. This was the attitude with which the ever-increasing knowledge of the mysteries of nature was applied in IKS. Let's look at the path of karma. In creation, beyond space-time, the source resides. It is only an observer to our efforts or the karma that we are doing. Karma is unavoidable for all living beings. The process of breathing itself is karma. If the body is taken as a mixture of earth and water primarily, then the fire principle creates the energy to do work for both the body and the mind. The Indian knowledge system's path of karma implies full devotion to work, seeking excellence and filling it with goodness. The mind is filled with desire of only thoughts of doing the best, increasing skills and using them for the benefit of all. The body is used as an instrument of goodness. The high path of seeking wisdom is highly respected in IKS, Gyan. This is the path of Gyan, the high path of Gyan. It can begin by questioning the nature of oneself and the origin of the universe. The source is attracted only to the search for itself, the I of creation. Hence, who am I is often the very first question of jnana. Though the body in this path too is primarily composed of earth and water, yet its energy of thought has a one-pointed focus to find out who am I. It seeks to discover the source of thought and action itself. The cloud of thoughts are filled with this quest and bring a rain that leads to a harvest of wisdom. We showed a Dutch sign saying God is watching in an earlier session. With such a humbling thought, if all work is done, it becomes worship. The easiest path of bhakti starts with surrender of fruit of all desires and the desires themselves to excellence filled with goodness. The person thinks, whatever I do, I will do it for the source who is watching. Desire for benefit received by cheating or being crooked, never such a desire will arise. The right thing is done. Adverse results are humbly accepted. A vacuum created by lack of desires pulls up the devotee to the source. Lack of thoughts makes the journey quicker. Others see that the individual is in trouble. It looks to the world that the individual is in trouble. Yet the devotee, the one who is following the bhakti path, does not experience any trouble, any pain. Instead, is filled with joy and bliss. So let's study their unity, the path of karma, that's the unity of the three paths of karma, bhakti and jnana. The path of karma tells us how to live in the material world of elements of earth and water. Duties, needs and responsibilities have to be fulfilled using pratyaksha pramana, sense perception. This way of knowing is very useful at this stage. The fire of a quest for higher truth and desire to merge in it may also be called yoga. It rarefies the air and makes us look beyond sense perception by sacrificing selfishness. A deep faith in the quest is a devotion to duty towards the truth. Tears that emerge as cloud of thoughts can't bear a separation from the truth. That is bhakti. Persistence in it opens the eye of jnana or wisdom. Thus karma converts to bhakti and bhakti leads to jnana. We see a 3-in-1 analysis of human being, the three philosophies that are useful for converting human experience to higher levels using the three paths of karma, bhakti and jnana. What happens if the 3-in-1 analysis is not clear to an individual? Mental health problems and social pain are caused, according to Indian knowledge system, when a threefold understanding of humans as body, mind, soul or essence is not clear. While the study of matter and body in Indian knowledge systems leads to prosperity, IKS's focus on control of the mind creates well-being. IKS uses experience as a tool for learning and considers sense perception based "I am just the body" as the original sin. How to apply this knowledge? This process starts by realizing that humans are not just the body but also the mind and consciousness or spirit or Atma. The state of consciousness is the source of the steady mind and intellect, both. However, as the mind gets attracted to gross materialization, it moves as clouds in the air principle. So long as the mind believes that I am just the body, this attraction to the gross remains strong. This attraction to the gross makes sense perception the first way of knowing. Then distinction from animal kingdom becomes weak. Education helps the mind work within limits of righteous conduct to help it regain the steady consciousness state. The question, who am I, is the first step of IKS's investigation. Two things need investigation: nature and human nature. Currently, some seek help to comprehend their own nature. What are the implications of a study of nature for human nature? What is the truth of humans and nature? What can help create focus on application in life of this truth? How can it help developing a curriculum? This is the attitude with which Indian knowledge system proceeds. Both Indian and current knowledge system have a study of nature. This is a common basis of the study of its truth and of creation. CKS, current knowledge system, has found it in quantum physics. What analysis can help create focus on application in life, developing a curriculum? IKS would use the same findings to guide a way living life. IKS fulfills the goals of humans in society by transforming attitudes. While it investigates matter also, yet human transformation is done through practices using experience. IKS is in two parts. The process of education, the first part, and second is its application in life. Education further is both an internal process and an external one. The internal process is about Paravidya and the external is Aparavidya. The internal process is about self-observation, self-analysis and self-discipline. The external process is to observe and learn the self-discipline in creation. Hence, both Para and Aparavidya are imparted in Indian knowledge system. Investigation in this way identified the 5 elements as the basis of creation. Further, the fusion of these 5 to create the 3 qualities of gunas helped apply this knowledge in life. It leads to 3 steps of application. How to use the body to live in the physical reality using sense perception. As the body perishes, IKS says, I am not just the body. To use the body, it followed limits, just as nature follows limits in everything, in all its phenomena. The second, number 2, is how to use the mind and live in relative reality revealed by quantum physics. As everything in nature is changing and so is the mind, IKS says, I am not just the mind. This leads to the third stage, stage 3, how to realize absolute truth or consciousness. How to use the mind to experience consciousness. After discussing 2 ways that I am not just the body and how to experience living in 3 bodies, we now discuss the third, how to become the source. One way is to learn from the sun. It is taken as the symbol of our intellect. It teaches the principle of radiation. We need to learn how to radiate selfless love equally towards all. The sun gives back more than it gets. If it evaporates water, clouds give rain to sustain all life and existence. It teaches how to return multifold of what you get. It should make us think of giving. The study of limits tells us not to give away all our physical possessions. It implies empathy to feel the pain of others as one's own pain and try to provide a sustaining source. IKS concepts need daily practice. This course lays a deep emphasis on practice. Every attempt is made to make all the lectures very short. A 5-minute slot at the end of this lecture is being given for silent sitting. This is to enable the participant to mull over what is said. Whatever has been heard should be repeated in the mind so that it gets absorbed. Just as sugar is stirred in a cup of tea or coffee with a spoon, use the spoon of silence to stir the sugar of Indian knowledge systems in your mind. It takes some time for the tea or coffee to become sweet. Patience is very important. The perspectives shared in the course will seem meaningful only if such silent sitting is done to mull over what has been said. Else, the half an hour spent in delivering the lectures will be a waste of time. We welcome you to undertake an inner journey during these 5 minutes. Only then will knowledge that is outside you will become wisdom inside you. The time allocated for this is actually 20 minutes, not 5 minutes. The time should be increased gradually. This is also a time for the mind to take rest. In case it cannot do that, mull over whether the voice of the conscience has guided you at any time in life till now. We accept challenges for the physical body in games. In a gym, we can have a 20 minutes plank challenge. We may exchange challenges on the quantity of food we can eat. Can we go beyond such challenges to the second step of the Indian knowledge systems? Can we see if the mind itself can take rest and maybe stop working? Can we explore what will happen if it becomes zero? Remember, it is not good to challenge the mind. It rebels and makes you do the opposite of what you want it to do. It is far simpler to observe the mind. For doing this, first the physical body should move as little as possible. Observe the mind as it tells the body to move. You are not telling the body to move, the mind is telling the body to move. Observe the mind. Move away from the mind and see what it is forcing the body to do. Watch the mind as if you are sitting on a fan at a distance. When you are at home, Shavasana in yoga is a good posture for this practice. Try to first silence the body, then the mind. For those who have mastered this, they can try the next method. When you think of nothing, can you experience love without giving it a shape of a thing like your favorite food or a thing that you want to own or the physical form of a person? Can it just be love without an emotion to a person or a thing? Can it be love for the sake of love? How do you experience loving yourself? The purpose of this course is to help you discover yourself, that loving being beyond the body and the mind.